Hello all. So imagine a scenario where your SSH is being brute forced by someone because if you turned on your SSH by default, you can see like someone is always trying to log into your system by means of brute force attacks. So they try to guess your passwords again and again, and they try to gain access to your system by means of doing that. So you can prevent this from happening by using a package called Fail2Ban. So what Fail2Ban does is it will check your logs, and if it sees something like someone is trying to access your system by multiple number of wrong password attempts, it will ban that specific IP address or that specific user. So you can install Fail2Ban by using pacman-s and Fail2Ban on Arch. So if you're on something like Debian or Ubuntu, you can try apt install Fail2Ban. So if you are on like something like Fedora or CentOS or Red Hat, you can do a sudo dnf install Fail2Ban. If you are on something like OpenSUSE or Gecko Linux, you can use sudo cifr install Fail2Ban. So this will install the service called Fail2Ban for you. So first and foremost thing we would like to do is Mctl enable -- now Fail2Ban. So what this does is this will enable Fail2Ban in your boot, and also this will start Fail2Ban right now. So it will ask you for the passphrase. You just enter your password and it will create Fail2Ban. So you can check check the status of the system by using systemctl status Fail2Ban. So you can see it's loaded and running. So there's no problem over there. So we can quit out of that by hitting Q, Control L to clear the screen. Then if we go to cd into /etc and Fail2Ban, and if we do an ls, we can see here are the configuration files. So how we do this is we need to create a custom jail for our SSH. So you can define a jail for pretty much anything you want, like something it's usually used to block unauthorized access to your SSH. Hopefully it's used for that. So here we have to create a custom jail. So how we do that, it's fairly simple. So we are going to open up, let's go back to home directory first. Let's clear my screen. Sudo vim/etc. So you can change vim with your favorite text editor. etc, and inside etc you have Fail2Ban. Inside Fail2Ban you have a directory called jail.d. Inside jail.d we have to specify the name of the custom jail we are going to define over here. So for this case we are going to create an SSH jail. So sshd dot jail, like not jail, local. I'm sorry about that. So we need to give our super user password. Now inside this part we have to specify some parameters like the name sshd inside square brackets. Then you can specify enabled. So that is the status of the service, like whether this jail is enabled or not. So you can type true for enable or false for disable. You can use any of the booleans like 1, 0, yes, no. Then you can specify filter equals sshd. Okay. Then you can specify ban action. So here, if you're using NF tables, you have to specify NF tables. For my case, I'm using IP tables. Then you can specify your backend, systemd. Then you can specify the maximum number of retries. So max retry equals how many times the user should be allowed to guess the password. So for this case, we can set 3 or 5 according to your use case. You change that. Then you can specify ban time. So this is according to your use case. So you can specify like in seconds. Like if you give something like 600, it will ban the user for like 600 seconds. After that, the ban will be lifted. If you want to ban like permanently, you just do a -1. Then there is an important thing with this, because sometimes attackers can like find your IP and use that against you to block yourself out of the system. So you have to specify ignore IP, and here you specify your IP. So like 192.168.1.25 or something, according to your configuration. Then pretty much you can add like you can specify port. So if you have a custom port for your SSH, you can specify that. Like if you have like 540 or something, you can specify that. If you have something like 22 default, you can leave it as it is. Then you have to specify log path. So this is where your SSH daemon will check for, like this jail will check for the log. So you have to specify like /var /log followed by auth.log. So this is the place where like the status will be logged. If you have some like if you have some authentication error, this will be the place where it will be defined for SSH. So that's pretty much you can do in this portion. Now save and exit. Now the next thing is you have to restart your fail2ban service. Like if you do like sudo fail2ban -client, and if you do a status, you can see currently we don't have any jails, even though we have defined one. So we need to like restart fail2ban service. So we just specify sudo systemctl restart fail2ban service. So it will ask you password. Give that, and now if we check again, we can see we have one jail defined. So the next part is if if someone tried to access and got blocked, you can see the status of particular service or particular jail by specifying the name of jail. So SSHD for our case, if we do that, we'll give the details of that specific jail. So currently we don't have any banned IPs because no one tried to access my SSH, because I don't have SSH enabled for my system. So if you don't use it, disable that. Then if you want to remove, like if you have a banned IP and if you want to remove that IP from your system, like from the banned list, what you do is you use sudo fail2ban client, and you can space like add set SSH, and you can like specify unban IP and followed by the IP address which you want to like SSHD, I'm sorry. and you can specify unban IP, and you have to specify the IP address for 192.168.1 dot something. Like if you have a banned IP over here in this portion, you can, if you want to unban that, you just use this command with the IP address over here. So this will unban that IP for us. So I hope this one was helpful. I hope you all have a wonderful day.